Hi, this is JP Morgan. Today on Sound Lens, I've got Ray here with me.
Hello.
Ray is from London.
I am.
So we're going to show you how to set up the 5 lighting portrait positions using the window and how to control the light. The first thing we did in this room is we got rid of all the light that isn't through my one window. I've got a window here and it's roughly about, I'd say 3 foot square. That's my light source because I want light coming just from that one 3x3 area. Now I can control it. You know, when you set up in the studio, you put your model in place, you put your background behind them, and then you move your light to your model. When you work with window light, you have to move your model and the background to the window. So if you want to change the lighting portrait position on your talent's face, you have to change the background and your talent in relationship to the window. But if you'll release yourself into that experience, you realize that you can truly change the look of window light and make it very dramatic, very open. You have so much control with window light if you'll learn to change the model and the background in relationship to your window. Okay, let's set up our first portrait lighting position. We're going to do a butterfly light. So I'm going to get Ray to turn to me. So the idea is I'm turning her towards the window. This is my light source. If I have her stand up, go ahead and stand up. This light source is too low now. It comes in underneath her chin. It opens up all the shadows in her chin, destroys any kind of drawing on her face. But if I have her sit down, she just dropped. And now this light source is higher than her nose, and it's going to give me a shadow under the nose and a shadow underneath her chin. My background obviously is in the wrong place. I'm actually going to put it in the next room. So one of the reasons I put it in the next room is the further I get the background behind her, the less I have to deal with the shadow from her falling onto the background. I can light them separately now. So if I come right in here, I've got that background in the next room there. So you can change the ratio of the lighting here. You can make it either a very 1:1, which is almost flat, or you can do it 1:3 or 1:4, which gives you really deep shadows. The idea though is I move my background and my model in relationship to my light. If I want to make this a little more moody, I'm going to start to create more mood. And what I'm going to do that is I'm going to move her away from the light. And I'm going to have her turn towards me. You'll see this little shadow on the side of her nose. Turn back just a little bit. Right about there. See that little shadow on the nose? That's called a loop light. That loop will start to grow as she moves towards me. So and it moves from a loop light. Go back to the loop light right there. Chin down just a little bit. Right there. Now I've got to move my background because I've now moved my background's in the other room. I'm going to move my background back in. So there's a loop light. I've certainly turned her slightly away from the light. It's becoming more dramatic. I'm shooting to the shadow side, so it's become a little more dramatic portrait of her. As I now move her just a little bit, doesn't be very much, that's about it. The nose shadow, the small loop on the bottom of her nose has closed with the shadow on her cheek, and that creates a small triangle on her cheek, and that's called a Rembrandt. The story said that the executives at Warner Brothers said, you know, why are you lighting your stuff so dark? People aren't going to pay to see that. And Cecil B. DeMille said, I'm not lighting them dark, I'm lighting them with a Rembrandt light, like Rembrandt used to paint. And they said, well, that's incredible. We can charge twice as much for that. So it was the dawn of a beautiful kind of rendition of light, not just everything being open and blown out. All right, so I'm going to get Ray now to turn into what's called a split light. That just really is exactly what it sounds like. You've got a really bright highlight side, you've got a dark shadow side, you've got a split. It splits her right down her nose. So looking right in here for me, Ray. So this is a very moody light. And this is one that if I wanted to take and to brighten it up would be an easy one to do, because I just take my fill card, and if you look at the side of her face as I push this in, you can see how that opens up, and that really opens up the highlight on the side of her face. It's all in relationship to the amount of intensity you get from the window, because my exposure is set for the highlight side of her face, which means that this is going to take that same light that's already coming in the window, exponentially just push it back into the shadows, and it's going to open up the shadows. Now if I turn her even further, and I come around just a little bit, looking right here, this is called a broad light. I've switched from the shadow side. If you move back for me again, Ray, I'm shooting into the shadow side of her face. Let's go all the way back to a Rembrandt, right there. I'm shooting now into the shadow side of the face. It's more dramatic. It's a lot more kind of interesting. It gives us dark side and kind of more moody side of her face. But as she moves, if I move around to this side of her face, I've not changed how moody this is. It's still very bright on the camera left side and very dark on the camera right side. But what I've done is I'm not shooting into the shadow any longer. I'm now moved around, I'm shooting into the highlight. So that's shooting in the broadside. If you don't move at all, but I moved right here, look back to me now, I'm now shooting into the shadow side. If you look at those two side by side, there's a major difference there. One feels a lot more open and less moody. The other one feels a lot more dark, a little more mysterious. So just that move from shooting into the shadow side to shooting in the highlight side changes really the emotion and the mood of the shot almost completely. So the reason this is working is because we have two things going for us. One is that we have a smaller source. I blocked out everything except for this one source. It's 3 foot by 3 foot. You could make this slightly larger, 4 foot by 4 foot. But as soon as you open up this whole wall, now it just has light everywhere and there's no longer any control, there's no direction, it doesn't really give you the 5 lighting portrait positions. So now I start with a Paramount or a butterfly light right here. I'll move her around and I now go to a loop light. Then I move around to a Rembrandt, into a split light. I cross the line into a broad light. So it's just a matter of moving her in relationship to the light source and moving the background to make sure you have a nice background light behind her. All right, so there's a look at the 5 portrait lighting positions. Now I'm going to move her way around. And this is a back rim light that I absolutely love. I've got a great rim light all the way around her hair, on her cheekbones. I'm going to have to keep my background low because I don't want it to knock out all the light in the background that's hitting her face. I'm going to bring my background around behind her to set up for that strong rim light. So the light is completely behind her. It's almost directly behind her, but not quite. I could come around just a little bit here. That gives me the nice light on her hair, on the side of her face, on the cheekbones. But now I'm going to take and I'm going to bounce the light right back into her face. And the closer I get that to her, the more efficient it's going to be and the more light it's going to kick back into her face. Now I'm using that window light as a rim light and I'm just bouncing light back into her face, which just gives us a beautiful look. It really is pretty because it wraps that light around. We're keying and filling from the same side. So we've got that hard key on the side of her as rim light, but then this reflector bounces that light back in and it wraps around her face. So there's a look at using a window light to create the 5 lighting portrait positions. Most people don't think of window light as a source that you can control. It's just soft and there and you just use it as is. I love to propose that you'd learn to create and to control it, to augment it, to modify it. If I've got a sunlight hitting this window, throw up a white trash bag or a sheet and it gives a beautiful soft light that comes into the room. Don't just take it for what it is. Throw some softener in there. Cut something. You can always put a card up and you can flag it. You know, there's so many different ways to control the light that comes to the window. People who are really good at using window light use it just like a light source. They control it, they shape it, they modify it. They do whatever they want and need to be able to get the look that they'd like to with the window light. Here we go. Here's Ray's best American accent. It takes time to build in the throat. It takes time to build in the throat.
Yeehaw, look at that horse over there or something like that.
Look at that horse over there. That's very close to a yeehaw. Look at that guy ride his horse. Yeehaw. Look at that horse over there. All right. So I hope you learned something about window light here. Leave us a comment below. Subscribe to the Slam Lens and keep those cameras rolling.
And keep on clicking.
This is my Hasselblad film kit in my SKB 2011 case. Hasselblad 500 cm with an 80mm lens and a prism. 500 ELM with a 120mm lens. 2 spare camera backs. 40mm lens. Air bulb shutter release. Sekonic 358 light meter. Lens and body caps. Polaroid back. Another Polaroid back. Lens shade for the 500 cm. Battery cover for the LM. 5-pack of Portra 400. 5-pack of Portra 160. 5-pack of Fujicolor 400H. 5-pack of Tri-X 400. 3 rolls of 120 film. Off we go. So that's my Hasselblad equipment that I carry in that SKB 2011 case. Film doesn't fence you in. Opens up great creative horizons. Let's go shoot some film.